Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Are you familiar with the Stockholm syndrome? Alright, if you are, you are. If you don't, I will just make a little summary. It's the affinity of the victim to kind of love its oppressor, the abuser. So there's a psychological, when the oppressed loves or defends its oppressor, loves the abuser. So we'd have a victim of rape defending and loving the rapist, kind of thing, something like that. I'm exaggerating a little bit so you can look deeper into it. Stockholm syndrome. Now I think the Baltic states display this Stockholm syndrome according to this new article that came out, where we have the Baltic state, or at least I think it's one of them, Lithuania, which is the biggest of the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Total population of these three Baltic states is about 5 million people, a city, okay? And they, at least in this case Lithuania, and everybody will follow, they ask Germany for troops. They want Germany to bring troops in Lithuania, and Germany said, oh, wait, time out. If NATO approves, we bring it. Now, where is this fitting into the Stockholm syndrome? Well, I will tell you, and I think it's not hard for me to make the case for you to realize if you know just a little bit of history. Germany, Lithuania, Soviet Union, Lithuania, Poland, Lithuania, Sweden, Lithuania. Take all this into consideration, or at least Baltic states in relationship with all these relation with all these countries that I mentioned. So let me read you the article, and then I'm gonna give you a little points from history where you realize that countries that once grew up real hard, like Nazi Germany, right? Now are exonerated. They are good and clean, are our friends. Therefore, when these idiots now they say that Russia will be Russia is never going to be Russia, look at this example. I think it's not a crime to observe or notice the obvious. Whatever happens in Ukraine is not as, how should I put it, horrible. It is horrible, but not as horrible as the Second World War, correct? There's no as much destruction and population and crimes and all that as in the Second World War. In the Second World War, we already know who was the guilty one, Germany. All right? If Germany was the guilty one, I'm not going to say Nazi Germany, because here you don't say Putin's or whatever party he's in, Free Russia, Beautiful Russia, something like that. You know what I mean? Because if you point the finger on the Russians supporting Putin and not toppling him and having an approval rating of about 80%, around 79, 82, 78, around that, they say, well, you are guilty. I heard the Western politicians and the mass media saying that. Then that's why I don't say Nazi Germany, I say Germany. Because otherwise you should, you know what I mean? You should not blame the Russian people for Putin, and you don't blame the Germans for Hitler, which nobody blames, right? Well, read some books and you're going to find out. Well, why didn't you say anything? Well, the same thing here. Anyway, so let's go back to this thing. So we have in history these Baltic states who were under Sweden's occupation, under German occupation, under Russian occupation, then Soviet occupation, then German occupation, then free, and then Soviet occupation, then Russian occupation. So it is Soviet, it's like been under some. Remember, as Germany is exonerated right now, Russia could be exonerated after a while, all right? So Germany, I think, committed more crimes than Russia, as of now, okay, let's be, all right? As of now, definitely, we can, I mean, the destruction. And now, Lithuania asked German troops, since they're okay after 70 years, to come on the territory of Lithuania. All right, let's read this article and then give you some historical points. Reuters. Update 2. Lithuania wants permanent German brigade. Germany says it's up to NATO. So it's the victim, who you were a victim, once oppressor or whatever come over and Red Rover. So, parade training ground Lithuania, March 7. A decision on a permanent deployment of a German brigade to Lithuania will be up to NATO, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said on Tuesday in response to calls by Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, for a larger NATO presence in the country. I mean, the occupation, how do you call that? Oh no, we're partners. Okay. So this is what is right here. Okay, let's see. Since 2017, Germany has led an international battalion with some 1,500 troops in Lithuania as part of a NATO effort to deter Russia. Right? Berlin also has a brigade of some 3,000 to 5,000 troops on standby in Germany. Right? So they already have some battalions here. Now let's go and see what's going on with Baltic states. So we have here the Baltic states, maybe not with this. Let's start with the beginning. All right. So we have here, we find out that, this is from Wikipedia, so you can disagree more or less. Here are the Baltic states right here, bam, bam, bam. Here is Sweden, here is Russia, Belarus, Poland. It says here that, I'm going to go to the history. The greater part of the three modern Baltic states' territory was for the first time included in the same political bab when the Russian Empire expanded in the 18th century. So Russian Empire expanded in the 18th century, that is 700s, and they did something to these Baltic states. But they did something, but the states were not independent, I guess. Let's see. Estonia and northern part of Latvia were ceded by Sweden. That means Sweden controlled them. This country, yes. Sweden occupied them and incorporated into the Russian Empire. Basically, I take what you took before. Or maybe they were in a little partnership, you know, Sweden, how do you call it, Lithuanian something. Anyway, Commonwealth or something. That was with the Poles. So they incorporated and put it at the end of the World War, the Great Northern War. So they got it, the Russian Empire got this Latvia and part of Estonia in 1721. With most of the territory of what is now Lithuania came under Russian rule after the third partition of Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1795, while Poland ceased to exist. So all these things came under Russia, not Poland, part of Poland and Ukraine, whatever. Large part of the Baltic countries were controlled by Russian central government until the 1917 Russian Revolution and the final stage of World War I, when Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania gained their sovereignty. So they became independent, sovereign in 1918, these three things, okay? And then what happened? The three countries were independent until World War II, in 1940. All these countries were invaded, occupied, and annexed by Stalinist Soviet Union. Not Russia, Soviet Union. And Stalin was a Georgian, not a Russian. All right. In 1941, the invasion and occupation of the three countries by Nazi Germany, before the Red Army reconquered the territory in 1944-1945, which stayed like that until 1991. There were some treaties, okay? There were some treaties. And let me see where I find the treaties. The first treaty was here, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, March 3rd, 1918. Gave Russia the rights to the entire Baltic area to Germany. Right? You got that? Which sought to organize puppet states in the region. Germany reorganized the independence of the Duchy of Kurland, blah, blah, blah. And then they did something else. They incorporated that in their little country. Is it where it is? I missed it. It was occupied by these guys. Anyway, my point is this. So, the Russian Empire got the territories in 1712 or whatever there was, 17 something. They got parts of that. Then they, in the partition of the Commonwealth of Lithuania and Poland, Commonwealth, whatever, 1794 or something, they got Lithuania and everything else. It stayed in the Russian Empire until 1917. The Germans got it, and then they got it. They got to be independent. In 1918, all Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia became independent. Until 1940, right, when it was the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, remember? And when it was the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, they agreed that Russia, Germany, Germany, the ones that you want now battalions on your territory, agreed with Russia, allowed Russia to get the Baltic states, which they invaded when they invaded Poland and so on. They got over. Now when the Germans declared war on Soviet Union in 1941 and the Barbarossa, the invasion operation, they start pushing these guys out. They conquered those countries and they incorporate them. They call them Ostern Reich, Ostern Oblast, something like that. They incorporated in their country. So it was not like they were independent. No. You've been under German occupation. The good Germans, right? Yeah, those ones that I'm talking about. They pushed the Soviet Union back. Soviet Union, after Stalingrad, pushed the Germans back, took over the Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, went to Berlin, did everything they need, and they remained with those three in the Soviet Union. Good or bad. So this is the history. So this, in general terms, and that's what matters. My point is, the Baltic states were by everybody around since what, 1712 at least. And I'm not going to Sweden, all right, which seems to have some little muscles over, right? So more or less, these countries were, like many little countries that, had to be vassal states or under a certain kind of occupation. I'm not saying they're weasels or anything, but this is history. This is, So then the Germans came, and now you want the Germans back. All right, you gotta have the Germans back. My point is, your enemies that you had, or whatever you want to call them, right, the Germans, 70 years ago, or right, more than 70 years ago, 80, let's say 80 years ago, now they're your friends, you want the troops on your territory. So probably in 80 years, you'll ask for Russian troops on your territory. Is it possible? Maybe not in 80, why should it be 80? Maybe 30 years. So that's why when you hear these guys talking in general terms, like we want to make sure that Germany will never be able to attack another country, well, how about Germany? Is it? I mean, it's going to have battalions. You ask for them. And remember, this is a soft takeover, like a takeover, not a takeover, which NATO does, NATO being the United States of America, over the entire Europe. Under the cover, the umbrella of NATO defense and protection, they deploy troops that could, in a second, occupy your country militarily if they want. In a second. They will just freeze your everything you got over there. So they have the troops to take care of you. Why? Because they're good people. Some of them are, some of them are not. But the intention, in general intention, is not a friendship and alliance. I mean, forget about that. If you think in the international arena as being allies as friends, no, this is how it goes. Allies to reach a goal, an interest. And after they reach that goal, they separate. And then if their goal does not coincide, if I cannot keep you here like they keep, like the United States keep NATO countries like this, some of them, but they stay around because they have some benefits. They feel like, oh, I'm with the big guy. So if the big guy takes, it's okay if he from time to time, he rapes me from time to time, but at least we got some crumbs here, some crumbs there, okay? When he comes over, whenever he comes over, Red Rover, and then he leaves. But at least I'm with a guy, with the big guy. That's how these NATO countries are. What do you think? They are friends? Not friends. Friends based on interest and goals. If tomorrow, let's say you have an alternative, they will jump on that one. Let's say tomorrow Russia promises them that, let's say, Poland will gain back some of its territories in Ukraine or in other areas that they claim. I guarantee you that Poland would switch sides, or at least will play a duplicitary role. And why not? Because they're not friends. Look what they did to the Germans. They issued the bill of $1.3 trillion to the German nation to pay reparations for the Second World War that the Germans said we already solved that problems in the 1960s, 1970s with then government. Beat it. You know what I mean? Pop, go. So what Poland, the friends, the allies, the NATO, the European Union members, friends, they went to the United Nations, they went to the Brussels and they said, look, the Germans are not paying up. Is that how friends are doing? On the other hand, you can look at the Polish demands or requests. What do you mean? Our friends are not paying up? What kind of friends are you, Germany? You owe us $1.3 trillion according to our estimates. You're not our friend. So you see, all these, they're not friends. How do you ask for that? And remember, if tomorrow Ukraine disintegrates, falls like that, I am 98% certain that certain countries like Hungary, Poland, I don't know Romania. Romania is a weasel country, is a special country, special if you know what I mean, will get territories from Ukraine for protection. They will protect the citizens against the Russians and the anarchy that will be in Ukraine. This was going to happen. I'm 99% certain Poland will come and say, we're going to protect our Polish minority in the Ukraine that is right now is anarchy. Oh, whoa, you intervene for your minority in another country to protect them from danger? Isn't that what the Russians are doing there? No, the Russians are not doing that. The Russians are criminals, bad. The same with Hungarians. What do you think the Hungarians will do? We want Transcarpathia. Our all eyes, you know, like the fly's eyes, everywhere. We're gonna take that. Let that little government over there, or a little bit of anarchy in Poland happen. They will intervene to protect their minorities. And for good reasons. You're gonna see them. Because as of now, even Hungary talks about it almost daily. I have an article that I read yesterday about, again, pointing the finger at Ukraine, infringing the Hungarian minorities' rights in Ukraine. Romania did the same thing. Joined Hungary, if you can believe that, saying that Ukrainians are infringing the rights of minorities, Romanian and Hungarian minorities in Ukraine. So they're ready. Yeah, ready. Like, are they going to collapse? Hey, Shawnee, are you going to collapse? I don't know. Jon, what do you think? Jon is John and Shawnee is whatever is. Can't remember. Shawnee or whatever. Pista. Hey, Pista or Arpi, are they gonna collapse? I don't know, man. Anyway, man, so this is Stockholm syndrome at work. But they destroyed the Soviet monuments. So the Soviet monuments are bad. The Russians, okay, they're bad, but the other ones are good. Anyway, I know there's details, and you can say how it is nuances, and the details might change this and that. But overall, look at it. Look at the Germans, what they did. Look at the Russians, what they did. And then I say, well, we hate you now. This is how we are supposed to. But tomorrow might be the other way around. But as of now, we hate you. We hate the Germans then. We hate the Soviets. Then when we hate the Russians. Tomorrow we might hate everybody. Like Poland. I'm just kidding. No. Okay. Slava Polska. I don't know if that's the way, but anyway. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth and be just.